Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. This morning we had an article that we were reading from. It was talking about the future of food, and the future wasn't like 20 years from now. It was this year, and they were saying that trends. This was from Forbes magazine, right? Wasn't it Forbes?
Yes.
Forbes. That the trend is for healthier eating, healthier food, healthier choices, and tasty and healthier choices. And then I'm looking at our list of who our guests will be, and I see this book, The Healthy Jewish Kitchen. I flipped through the book, and all the food looks delicious. All of the food looks healthy.
Yeah.
And Paula Shoyer is the author, and she's on the phone. She is known as the Kosher Baker. She was honored by Jewish International as a woman to watch. She competed on Food Genius on the Food Network, and she's got the book, The Healthy Jewish Kitchen, that she wants to talk to us about. Let's find out about it. Good morning, Paula. How are you?
I am really good. I am in my kitchen, the place where I am happiest.
Nice.
Does it always smell really good in that kitchen? I bet it does.
It does, and actually, a couple of years ago, one of my neighbors came by, and he was worried because he hadn't smelt anything for a couple of weeks, and I told him that I was actually working on a book, like writing the recipes, and I had to stop baking and cooking, had to just sit at the computer and write, so he had been worried about me.
Do you know, I grew up in New York, and delis are... Where are you, by the way? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Chevy Chase, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C., but I grew up in New York as well.
Oh, okay. And so being from New York, you know that the delis are separated by ethnicity. There's the Jewish delis, the German delis, and I guess just the I don't know, the multicultural delis. I don't know. But I never heard of a Jewish baker specifically. I don't remember. Well, except for the bagel place, I guess. That was a Jewish place.
Well, when I was growing up, there were always a scattering of, kosher bakeries around Long Island. I grew up on the South Shore. We had one in town. There were a couple in the 5 towns. And there's still a lot of bakeries. I became a pastry chef back in 1995, and I wrote my first cookbook, The Kosher Baker, because I was so unhappy with what I was finding in Jewish bakeries. Everything was just like the same desserts I remembered when I was 5, and I had come back from living in Europe where kosher pastries were just fantastic, and
oh, really?
wanted to do something better for our community.
Well, welcome. Where on the South Shore? I grew up in Merrick. Where did you grow up?
Oh, gosh, I grew up in Long Beach, so not very far from you.
Oh, very close,
Wow.
yes. All right, so tell me about some of the recipes. On the cover, are these barbecued carrots? I mean, they look like they were on a grill.
Yes, so basically, when I was growing up in Long Island, vegetables often came from a can, something my children don't even know actually is a section of the supermarket. This book was a tribute to both of my parents who passed away in the last 2 years. And what I did was take recipes from my childhood and try to update them. And like peas and carrots from a can was like literally the worst thing in the world. So this is my version of peas and carrots. So it's grilled whole carrots, which you just like throw on a grill outside. You can even broil them inside, but it's really nice to get the lines from the grill. And then the green dip is a tarragon and pea puree.
Does the grilling of the carrot make it softer?
Yeah, you're going to cook them until they're about fork tender, and fork tender means when you touch the fork at the top, it just goes in.
Really? Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Oh, so you don't have to boil them first. You put it right on the grill.
Oh, no. And I'm really big about not having too many steps in my recipes. I try really hard to stand in the shoes of the person in the kitchen and not give them too much work for each dish because they're making an entire meal. They shouldn't spend all day on a soup. They have to make the chicken, the side dish, the dessert. So I try to make it easier. And I took other recipes that I'm sure you remember from growing up in New York, such as like creamy coleslaw, which was like pretty much ubiquitous at every birth and death, Yeah. And I took a mango and pureed it and added lime juice and jalapenos, cilantro, and other ingredients, and that's my dressing for my coleslaw. So no mayonnaise, no jarred sauces in here.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. Okay. So how does that
imagine
make the Jewish connection for me? How does that make it Jewish?
Well, it's something that is on Jewish tables all the time.
Oh, I see.
And since we're all trying to eat healthier, instead of saying people, well, you can't have coleslaw anymore, you can't have potato salad, you can't have stuffed cabbage, you can't have latkes because they're not healthy.
What
I did in the Healthy Jewish Kitchen was give you healthier versions. I bake my latkes, I bake my schnitzel.
Oh,
my potato
really?
salad is with sweet potatoes. My grandmother's stuffed cabbage has turkey and brown rice instead of beef and white rice. So I lightened everything up so you can feel good about it and you can continue to eat these wonderful traditional Jewish dishes
And
at holidays and Shabbat.
And what is schnitzel? Because I always hear this word, and I don't think I've ever seen one.
Okay, when I was going in, my mother called it, chicken cutlets, basically, and that was like something we ate at least once a week. And so it's like typically it's thin chicken slices made with breadcrumbs that are fried in a pan. You dip them in a flour, the egg, and then breadcrumbs, and you fry them, and they're just the most delicious thing in the world. I developed a method of baking them in the oven, and they come out super crispy. Plus, I use a nut crust, so it's gluten-free as well. I have lots of gluten-free recipes in this book.
Oh, nice.
So tell me, do you have a favorite in the book?
Okay, so my favorite dessert, speaking of gluten-free, is my chocolate quinoa cake, and it just happens to be gluten-free, but I make it all year round. And it's a chocolate cake made out of cooked quinoa that's pureed with cocoa and some oil and mixed with eggs and a lot of other ingredients, great bittersweet chocolate, and made in a bun pan. It looks just like a fudgy chocolate cake, and it's perfect for Passover as well as a cake I make all year round.
Oh, wow.
How do you adhere to the rules of what is and what is not kosher? How do you do that? Or is that not as hard as I think it is?
It just isn't. It's just like, you just have to think about substitutions, and it's like, in 2018, it's just so easy because if I want to substitute milk, then I can use a whole slew of options. I've got soy milk, I've got rice milk, I've got almond milk. They come up with new milks every day that are dairy-free, and I can use those in my recipes. Just now I put in the oven a flourless chocolate cake, a recipe from my first book, and I always made it with margarine, a product I try to avoid now, and I used coconut oil instead.
Oh, really?
So because we don't have milk and meat, you can substitute the milk ingredients with lots of different dairy-free alternatives and end up with great results. So in terms of the rest of the cookbook, I don't have any dairy products in my meat dishes, and I only use kosher meats.
I like the fact that you can take your cookbook and you can cook with your significant other on the same day that you can eat your meal. I mean, I like making things in advance, like stuffed peppers or chili, because that takes like an hour and a half or so to make. But
Right.
your cookbook, you can stay with your significant other and have all these healthy foods and enjoy cooking them together, and within a half hour you're sitting down at the table.
Right, so I put on every single recipe how much time it takes to prep the recipe so that you know, and what equipment in the kitchen that you need. So right from the start, you know what's expected of you, and you can pick the right recipe that fits into your busy lifestyle.
Well, there are millions of books on Amazon. And your book is number 9? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's number 9. Sometimes when I check, it's moved up in the kosher list to number 4.
Oh,
but I'm
okay.
hoping all of the readers out there go on Amazon and buy the book because the price is really good right now. And I don't know how long. No, but I don't know how long that price is going to last. And what I tell people now is like, if you go buy it on Amazon, go buy 2 and give one away and pay it forward and bring the joy of these recipes to somebody else.
Yeah, it's only $12.47 for the hardback and $9.89 for the Kindle. This is the kind of book, though. I like Kindle, but I think this kind of book I prefer the actual book. I think it just seems.
Yeah, I really like having my cookbooks in my hands. I do have my books on Kindle for mostly when I travel and I get a question from somebody who has to know right away and I need to check my recipe, so I do that. But I really love the photos in this book, and it helps, when you look through an entire book, you can plan the menus. And I really have menus for every holiday, whether it's American Thanksgiving or Passover or Rosh Hashanah. And I know that the recipes in this book are so easy because I've been doing demonstrations at synagogues and organizations around the country to promote the book. And unlike when I was just doing desserts, I'm known as the Kosher Baker, I don't have as much to teach now when I teach my savory recipes because I made them really simple. I made them interesting, and they look like you spent all day in the kitchen, but you don't.
And this really makes it nice when you're a parent and you're cooking with your children, because I know when my children were little, I'd have 2 sets of measuring cups and measuring spoons and all of this, and then we'd open the cookbook, they'd each pick a recipe, and they would actually have to do the measuring and all of the mixing, and that helped them learn math without really learning, and what foods they like go together, and that's what you're doing with your book also.
Plus, it exposes them to such a variety of food. All my 4 children are really good eaters. They eat such a range of fruits and vegetables and grains and meats and fish. And my pediatrician marvels at how did I possibly accomplish that. And I did it by constantly giving them vegetables they didn't love, but giving them in a new form so that they would be prettier or more interesting or just different than the last time.
Yeah, because kids don't like vegetables unless they're green beans.
I know. I actually really like my string bean recipe in the book. It's almost like a deconstructed pesto, and I cut the string beans into 3/4-inch pieces because I find that when you have a big meal, string beans take up way too much space on the plate. So I figured if you chop them, then you have room for other food, other healthy food.
Oh, good idea.
Do you help me understand this? Is pasta a no-no? Do you not do pasta at all?
I eat pasta occasionally, but I feel like in my life at my age, I really can't eat everything I want. So, for example, I eat pasta occasionally, and I do make homemade pasta sometimes, but on a regular basis, I'm not going to eat lasagna in a world where there's chocolate babka. I don't get to eat both, and sometimes I want to save my calories for babka. It's like I've chosen cookies over bagels. It's like I don't have everything, but if I had a choice between a bagel and a cookie, I think I'd rather have a cookie.
Now, do you only save some recipes for special occasions, special holidays?
Just depends. I think that there's holiday food, but I have a lot of everyday food. I have this Indian barbecue chicken in here that's super easy, which I think is a really good everyday. My dry rub salmon is one of my favorite recipes in this book. You grind up a bunch of whole spices and mix them in with some others and bake it in the oven. It has no fat in it. That I make all the time, but it's pretty enough to serve for a party.
How did you discover cilantro?
Cilantro is funny. I certainly did not grow up with cilantro. I don't think I saw a fresh herb other than parsley, but dill may have showed up at some point. So not everybody likes cilantro, and what I always tell people, you can always substitute Italian parsley or basil in a recipe.
Oh, okay, yeah, because sometimes people just, like you said, just don't care for that because it is kind of strong, in my opinion.
Right, so I try not to put it in too many places. I try to use a variety of ingredients in my recipes. Like I have a lot of side dishes that all can be served at room temperature, like my eggplant with capers, and that one has mint in it. Other recipes have basil. So I try to, vary it. But I really like to help people, find things that they like. If you don't like this ingredient, talk to me. I'll help you figure out what you can substitute.
So in addition to being the Kosher Baker, it looks like you've got the whole nutrition thing in check also. A lot of the things you've said in this interview indicate that. Is that part of what you do? Are you a nutritionist in a way?
I am not a nutritionist by training. I basically see myself as a healthy chef who still has a passion for pastries.
Okay.
And I feel like the healthy Jewish kitchen is how you should eat on a regular basis so that you have room for dessert. Good nutrition is about home balance. So you need homemade, and you need to balance out special treats, special occasion food with healthier food.
Do you drink coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Just regular,
Oh, yeah. No, I'm powered by coffee.
Okay.
My autobiography is going to be called Life on Caffeine. I'm an espresso girl, but just 2 a day. And, yeah, I really love coffee. In fact, I was making this flourless chocolate cake this morning, and I was really tempted to put coffee in it, but I remembered that one of my children doesn't like it as much, so I decided to go with the pure chocolate taste.
Now, we have some Jewish friends down here, and during their Passover and some other holidays, they can't find something that's totally pure down here. I can't remember what it's called, matzah maybe, and they have to send up to New York for it because of the ingredients.
Well, there are a lot. Okay, well, I know that Publix sells a lot of kosher for Passover products down there, and I believe that the Winn-Dixie does too. But there are kosher supermarkets in Boca and Miami that are fantastic, and they have so many wonderful products. There's new products coming out all the time. I wrote a Passover cookbook 3 years ago, and I released called The New Passover menu. And that basically has a lot of simple recipes that you don't need a lot of packaged food to make. And in the Healthy Jewish Kitchen, so much of the book is appropriate for Passover. And it's just vegetables and other flavors and natural ingredients. You don't have to send up for anything. You'll be able to find these ingredients. I didn't want to write a healthy cookbook that people had to go to multiple stores to find all the pieces to make.
Yeah. Let's say, I don't want to say man or woman. I'm just going to keep it sex-free, okay? I'm going to say a person who is Catholic marries a person who is Jewish and wants to satisfy that person's food needs. The one thing I'm wondering is they get the book, they figure out how to cook everything, but the one thing they're going to have trouble with is pronouncing some of the words.
Right, but it's the same thing when I try to pronounce other languages as well. But, it's not too bad. I tried, it's funny because I have this Brazilian recipe in here called Fez Errata, which is the national dish of Brazil. And everyone's like, Fez, what is that? And I'm like, it's made with like 5 parts of the pig, but I made it kosher with different cuts of beef and veal. I wanted to try this dish. I have all these Brazilian cookbooks, and it always looks so delicious. I'm like, I am going to kosher this up. So I did. I did the same thing with bouillabaisse. How many trips to France have I walked by restaurants and I've seen these steaming bowls, bright orange with all this fish, and I'm like, nope, no kosher versions here, so I created my own.
Oh, okay. That helps me understand a lot more, actually, just with that little answer there.
This is such a wonderful cookbook, and you describe it as a cookbook about wellness, and that you had to develop these recipes while you cared for your 91-year-old father who was a diabetic.
Yes, and it was hard because he was a picky eater his whole life. He literally came to marriage, to my mother, and just wanted to eat the same food he had eaten as a child. She made him. My mother was a solid cook, but she didn't have a lot of variety. But she made the same food, and that continued. But then he developed diabetes and couldn't eat desserts, and then his appetite went down as he got older. It really gets harder and harder, and that's why I tell parents, get your kids to eat as many foods as possible when they're 5, so that when they're 75 and 85, they're so habituated to trying new foods that depending on what kind of diet they can and can't eat, they'll find things that they enjoy. It's hard to keep weight on people when they're older. My big joke about my father, cooking for my father in his last year and months, was that I basically would make a soup called Everything My Father Hates soup. But he didn't know that. It literally had like spinach and broccoli and quinoa and brown rice and beans. He hated beans, all pureed together. And if it was green, I could say it was zucchini, and he would eat it.
Oh,
and love it, and love it. And I don't like to, I don't like to like hide healthy ingredients. I'm pretty upfront about it, and I always was with my kids. Although my kid's favorite soup is a caramelized onion and sweet potato soup, which is in the Passover book, and I've made it for years. I think it's also on my website, thekosherbaker.com, so people can get it right now. But it's orange, so when they were little, it was orange soup. Mommy, when are you making the orange soup again? They just loved it. They didn't care what was in it. So that's what you have to do, is just make things really flavorful and colorful.
Does the spice rack have limitations, or does anything go?
For spices, pretty much anything goes, and sometimes I like to have ranges of you can make something more spicy. Sadly, my stomach can't tolerate a lot of spice, but I sometimes give a range. I have a chicken recipe on my website right now, which is a spicy tomato-based chicken sauce, and I tell people, you want it spicier, just add more red peppers in it. I just can't do that. Same thing with the Vietnamese noodle soup. I took my mother's chicken soup and turned it into an Asian noodle soup, and you can add more chili into it and make it spicy at the end.
How about ice cream or sherbet?
I don't have any ice cream recipes in this book. I do have in the Holiday Kosher Baker, I have a strawberry ice cream for Passover that I really like. I make ice cream from scratch, but last summer I was losing weight and I really did not need homemade salted caramel ice cream in my freezer.
Ooh,
but the kids have been... I know, but the kids have been bugging me that I'm such a terrible mother because I haven't made homemade ice cream in 6 months. So I think I have to up my game here. Okay, this, babka and ragalach are fine, but we want homemade ice cream.
Yeah.
So I honestly look at all these pictures. They all look good. I'm trying to decide what I want for lunch today. You know what I like this?
Yeah, and if you go on my Instagram feed, I always try to post lots of pictures of, and I'm on Instagram as Kosher Baker. I try hard to put pretty things up there, but it's so funny. Of all the things that I do, people seem most excited about challah recipes.
About what recipes?
Homemade challah bread that we have every Friday night.
Oh, okay.
And I have different flavors of challah. In this book, I have 100% whole wheat. Do you remember Ratner's restaurant from New York City when you were growing up?
What was it called?
Ratner's. It was like a Jewish restaurant on the Lower East Side, and they were known for these onion rolls that people would basically bring plastic bags in their handbags so they could take home the rolls and keep ordering more.
Oh, wonderful.
But I copied their topping recipe, so my whole wheat bread has this like chopped onion and poppy seed mixture with caraway seeds inside the challah and on top.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
bread
I don't know if this came from there or not, but I had a friend who was Jewish, and I would go over there all the time, and his mother had this very crusty, covered with powdered sugar thing that I used to love. I have no idea what it was called.
Were they little cookies? Was it like rugelach, or was it more of a pastry or cake?
It was very flaky. It almost looked like it was part of something else, but it wasn't included. It was just, all it was like crusty, flaky thing with powdered sugar. I used to love it. I don't know what it was called, though.
That sounds pretty good.
I'm wondering if that came from there, because I know they would go down there a lot. I have a copy of the Healthy Jewish Kitchen, and I don't want to give it away.
It's a wonderful book.
But I will give it away. So call me.
Then you can go out. You can go on Amazon and buy another one.
Absolutely.
I was actually in South Florida. I think it was in November, and I did an event in Fort Lauderdale for a group of women. It was the first time I ever did a cooking demo outside, and we had about 50 people, and it was just beautiful weather. It was really a nice experience for me. A little windy at times, but I managed to hold on to everything at my demo table. But I travel around the country and do cooking classes for people of all different ages, and it's really fun for me to be out there and meet other cooks and chefs and find out what they're concerned or what kind of recipes they wish they had, and just try to teach as many cooking and baking tips as
I did find the book on Amazon. So, and as Paula mentioned, the book it's very affordable on Amazon. $12.47 right now, as I'm looking at it. And if you want the free one that I have, call me right now and I'll give it to you. It'll be waiting on the desk here at the radio station. Paula, do you have a website besides Amazon you want to tell us about?
Sure. So I have a website called thekosherbaker.com, and there's lots of recipes there that aren't in any of my cookbooks. I put new recipes up all the time. I think I have a spinach soup that's going to go up there soon, and there's a lot of recipes related to the holidays. You can learn about all my 4 books. There's also a link on the homepage to a highlight video that I did, which has clips from my appearance on Food Network and several clips from TV shows I've been on. I go on TV before pretty much every major Jewish holiday. I think I've clocked 28 TV appearances.
Oh my gosh.
And it's been really fun because I just I'm just trying to share this philosophy of eating well and homemade baking, as far and wide as possible. Yeah, so if you go on the website, you can see clips to some of my videos, and some of them are funny. Like people ask me silly questions when I'm on TV.
And you do make it fun. The book is healthy and fun. It's for everybody, vegan, gluten-free, low in fats and sugars, and you're really not lacking anything if you try these recipes.
Thank you. And I wanted something for vegetarians. I wanted something for, people who are looking for something to impress people by. And I really try hard to bring some international ideas to the Jewish community. And all of the traditional Jewish desserts in this book, the babka, the strudel, the rugelach, they all have whole grain flour in them and less sugar than you would typically find in these recipes.
Wow, nice. Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you for being on the air. Good luck with everything, and anytime you want to come back, you're welcome to come back.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Take
Paula.
care. Shabbat shalom to my Jewish friends out there.
Thank you very much, Art. We will be right back.
The Marion County Leadership Foundation will be hosting their 2nd annual golf tournament to help the youth of Marion County. The tournament takes place on January 27th at 12 p.m. at the Ocala Golf Club. Don't miss out on this exciting opportunity to help the youth of Marion County and earn the bragging rights of being the best golf team in the county. The cost is just $80 per person. For more information, go to the Marion County Leadership Foundation page on Facebook.
Saturday, February 17th. Come out to the Circle Square Cultural Center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. as On Top of the World Communities presents the annual Home Improvement Expo. Representatives from every field of the home improvement industry will be on hand to display their services and answer questions about the latest trends in home designs and remodeling. This free event is sponsored by On Top of the World Communities, 8395 Southwest 80th Street, Ocala. For more information, go to csculturalcenter.com. That's csculturalcenter.com.
Each morning, we wake up thankful to live in a free nation with liberty and justice for all. But sometimes those liberties can be put in jeopardy, and you may have questions about what to do or who to call. Let Doc Blanchard of Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland help you find the answers. Attorneys at law since 1974 and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
This is James Snyder, inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster.
The world